Hello, back with another lick of the week. This is October 20th, and I'm going to move over now in the D scale, since we're talking about single string technique. Thought I'd do a little primer for the D scale. And again, just like for G and C, I'm going to stay in frets 1 through 5. The neat thing about the D scale is that we don't have to use a mode like we did for G and C scales, because you know, if you want to play the lowest note in those two scales, the lowest note we have is the D. Well, for the D major scale, because of the way we're tuned, we already have the lowest note, so we don't have to play a mode. We can start with the root note. So D is our first note. And again, I'm going to try to show multiple pathways and stay within frets 1 through 5. And remember, for your left hand, you try to use as many combinations of fingerings as you can. Don't favor the index or the middle too much, because you simply can't keep up when the tempo of a single string passage gets, you know, above a certain point. You won't be able to keep up. So use that metronome, and which we'll do in a second here. But let's go through the basic D scale, and again, I'm going to show you a few alternate pathways. Here's pathway number 1, starting with the open D. Second fret is E. Fourth fret is F sharp. G I'm going to play as open third. A, second fret. Fourth fret is B. C sharp is the second fret of the second string. Alright, D I'm going to go up 1 fret. Alright, E I'm going to go over here to the second fret of the first string. F sharp is the 4th fret, and then open 5th will be my G. So what I've done is played the whole D scale and then moved partially into the next octave. So I actually have E, F sharp, and G from the next octave. So I can't play 2 complete D scales, but I can play a full lower octave and then 3 notes into the next octave. Alright, now that's pathway number 1. So remember, with single string style, you have a lot more options as far as to pathways. Melodic style is kind of limited in the number of ways you can express a scale. There's only a handful of patterns. But for single string, you have a lot more variety of patterns to play the same scale. So let's try a different approach. Let's try a different pathway. We'll go D, E, F sharp. Now I'm going to use my pinky right here at the 5th fret of the 4th string for G. Alright, that will eliminate my open third, but I can still use my A note here. Okay, my B will still be here. My C sharp will be here. Now I'm going to use the open first for D. E is here again. F sharp is at 4. And then 5 will be open. So I've substituted a fret position. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, open first is D, E, F sharp, G. Alright, let's try another pathway. D, E, F sharp, open G, A, open B, C sharp. Alright, now my open first is D, E, F sharp, and now G will be here. Alright, let's try another pathway. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Same string as E. Maybe this, I'll use the pinky. F sharp, G. So, kind of did the same thing with the D scale that you've done with the C and the G major. Practice these pathways. See if you can come up with any other pathways that we haven't done here. And remember to try to stay within the group of frets between 1 and 5. And the metronome, again, let me fire this metronome up. I've got it set at about 95 beats a minute. Play as many pathways as you can. Try to go ascending, which is the tones going up, and descending, which is the tones going down. And experiment with just the scale for right now. And once you get where you can play the scale, remember to try to use as many fingerings as you can. downside to playing anything in this area of the neck in relation to D is because you notice a lot of the notes that I'm scrolling around and through relate directly to this chord position, what I call the number 2 shape, also called the D shape, obviously. What's going to happen is single string scales of any kind wind up covering an area of the fingerboard that's also occupied by one of your really familiar chord shapes. I call this positional playing. So what you try to do is relate what you're doing to a chord shape. And in single string style, it's really easy to do. Guitar players refer to this, I think, as box scales, I think is what they call it. And a box scale on guitar would be using one of your guitar bar chords like this, finding all the scale notes, major, minor, pentatonic, whatever kind of scale you're looking for, and keep it within the context of this bar chord on a guitar. Okay, we have bar chords on the banjo, obviously, and the same rule applies. There are positions in single string that relate to bar chord positions, but this scale pathway, well, all the scale pathways that I just covered actually either include these notes or some of the adjacent fret positions. And why is that? Well, it's because every major chord form that you play contains the first, third, and fifth notes out of the scale you're working with. So it's only natural and logically going to happen that some of these chord tones are also scale notes, because that's what a chord is an assemblage of scale tones. 1, 3rd, and 5th makes a major chord. So if we analyze what we're holding here, I could play the 4th string open, that's my D, or I could use this note. Here's my D on the 2nd string. So out of this chord shape, here's a D, here's an F sharp, all right, here's an A. D, F sharp, and A constitute a D major chord. So it's pretty convenient that I can kind of hold this shape and play some pretty interesting single string licks. And I'm never far away from playing the whole chord. So the downside is playing the D scale ideas out of this chord position is going to seem kind of not friendly for your left hand, because of the 3 chord shapes, the 1, which some people call the F, the 2, which is also called the D, and the number 3 shape, the bar. The 1 and the 3 shape is actually pretty friendly for your left hand. It's easier to play ideas out of this. But for some reason, for most players, especially beginners and intermediates, this form, the D shape, is the least favored for playing licks and ideas, because it's just not very friendly for your left hand. Your wrist is kind of cocked out at an odd angle. Your fingers are leaning in an odd way. So most players tend to avoid playing in D, for instance, because they don't like holding the chord, playing scruggs licks, and when they play single string, they find that it puts more stress on their left hand, so they'll tend to capo up and play out of a C position. So when you capo at 2 and play out of C position, you're actually still playing out of that D shape, but the capo intersects it and makes it appear that you're playing a C formation, but it's actually the same 3 notes you would hold anyway. The nut just holds the 2nd string for you, so it frees up your hand not to have to hold this convoluted shape. But if you can get used to it, this will lessen your dependence on the capo and allows you to play some of these great open low D tone licks. And yes, you could capo and play out of the C position by capoing 2nd fret, but you lose this big broad palette of tone, and you also lose that low D note. So there's your D major scale. See you next time. Thanks.